Unraveled, a series of 29 videos created by safety fan and bureaucratic wunderkind Brian David Gilbert. It's captured the hearts of many a viewer, including myself. And so, to honor BDG's names and to attempt to piggyback off of his success, I have decided to take on the mantle of Unraveled one last time. Hello, hi, and welcome to the Mantis. I'm Calliope Black, and this is Unraveled. Cultist Simulator is a wonderful game about mundane life, tackling topics such as poverty, depression, summoning occult gods in your bedroom with a cult dedicated to helping you ascend to beyond the mortal realm. And of course, romance. So today I decided to ask the burning question that only I have dared to ask. Which eldritch entity is Cultist Sim's most eligible bachelor? Let's start with the rules. To start with, a bachelor must have unique qualities in order to differentiate them from the rest, so the long and port noon wouldn't count as they're too general, whereas creatures like the Precognisant are perfectly fine. Next up, the entry in question cannot be mortal. If I wanted to date a normal human, I'd just go outside, and clearly by my lack of a current girlfriend, I don't want a mortal date. That's definitely why. Anyway, with our two rules set in place, I have unfortunate news. No, the number is not 69. It actually used to be 69, but as I was researching for the script of this video, I discovered that a lot of the gods have very little information on them. As a result of this, I had to cut a lot of the gods who were only mentioned once, like Bede, or the gods from nowhere who don't really have a lot on them. This unfortunately means this list won't cover the dead gods either, so no getting it on with the sun and splendor. With that unfortunate truth out of the way, we can now begin setting the parameters of what makes a deity datable. I decided to do this by answering 6 simple questions for each god on the list. Number 1. Can they provide? Everyone wants an eldritch partner, but no one wants to put the work in to get one, so that's why it's important they do it for you. This question is here to ensure that you aren't pulling all the weight in the relationship. Gods who can bring in the dough or who have alternative ways to support their partner are generally better to date. Number 2. Are they emotionally available? Some gods are just too full of themselves to be able to truly support you emotionally, and that's no good. This question seeks to weed out the narcissists, sociopaths, and general assholes from the kind and compassionate potential partners. Number 3. Are they loyal? Infidelity is one of the most common reasons why couples split up, so I'm taking loyalty into consideration for this list. Does your partner respect your boundaries? Do they listen to you when you ask them not to do things? Or do they sleep around and ignore your requests? Stuff like this is important to consider when you want to date a deity. Number 4. Are they responsible? Now, having an eldritch partner is all well and good, but what do you do when your tentacle daddy doesn't know that he can't constrict people without consent? A lot of deities might not know the limits of humanity or the rules of society, and thus, if you aren't careful, you could end up covering for your partner's messes. Number 5. Can they communicate? Communication is vital in a healthy relationship, so naturally, gods who are without a voice are going to rank lower in the list. This doesn't just count for our bachelor's physical capability to communicate, but rather their willingness to as well. If neither partner is willing to say what the other is doing wrong, then that relationship's going to fall apart fast. And finally, number 6. Can they get it?
Ooh, come on, baby.
As a general note, it's important to remember that these entries are ranked solely on the 6 criteria I mentioned earlier, and not my personal opinions. If I based this solely off of my personal opinion, a lot of these choices would be much higher, and a lot of these entries would be much lower as well. Now that we've decided what counts as a bachelor for this list, and how we're going to be ranking them, there's only one thing left to do. So without further ado, let's get dating. The first category of deities I've decided to label Hard Pass. These gods have exactly 0 redeemable qualities, and if you date them, then you deserve what happens to you as a result. Our first contender, literally being scraped off the bottom of the barrel, is the Crowned Growth, which is just an infection that wants to turn everything into more of itself. No thanks. A close second for last place is the Wolf Divided, a being who only wants to destroy things, including itself. And that just sounds like an abusive relationship. And no, you can't fix him. I don't care if he's a dog, you can't fix him. Hinter are creatures that cannot survive the direct gaze of a mortal, and thus prefer to hide behind the scenes. I don't think I need to explain why this ranks this low. Next up is Medusa, which, as you would expect, has some unfortunate side effects upon seeing her. It's stated in the game that seeing her face would be painful, harmful, or outright lethal. Which, I mean, creativity with blindfolds can only get you so far. The Lionsmith was known as the Golden General in life, and that's not without reason. He was actually a military general in Persia, but he turned his back on his kingdom to ascend after he learned a secret of betrayal, which doesn't really lend itself to loyalty in a relationship. Oh yeah, and he's got anger issues. Yeah, next! Kanishk is a bastard who ascended to namehood by lying to and betraying his lover. He's one of the very few gods with a named lover in canon, and he sacrificed him to ascend. Fuck Kanishk. Now, I probably should have mentioned this when talking about Medusa, but there are some entries on this list that are Alukites, people who were once gods, but then committed the crime of the sky, which is heavily implied to be eating your own child. What the fuck? Even without getting into the fact that Marinette is a fucking skeleton lady, or that she accidentally became an Alukite, or her insatiable appetite for people, she was already bound to place low. Like, clearly she can get it, but just use a contraceptive. A condom, an IUD, anything. Yes, this is the actual Roman Emperor. Unfortunately, he was known for multiple sex scandals and implementing massive changes that upset the populace. Not great signs for loyalty or anything else you'd look for in a partner. Ranking in at number 41 is the Door in the Eye, which might have the single most disturbing tarot card of all the hours. Ugh. But even aside from the nightmare fuel that is the art of this deity, he's also described as being not compassionate, and before he ascended, he was literally called the Unwise Mortal. Just swipe left. Whereas some people like long walks on the beach, the Velvet likes gathering secrets in the dark and hiding from the world. Which, now that I think about it, is probably a lot of incels' ideal woman. Now this is where I mentioned that the last criteria in the list isn't just about intercourse, it's also about how fun you can be, and whether you can bring the life to the same old days that would bring boredom, and also how well you can bone. The Moth ranks high in that last criteria because he's the Hour of Chaos. It's bound to bring a lot of enjoyment to your days. That being said, if you do date this deity, you will always be its second priority. This hour's heart belongs to the lamp. If this were a list of deities you would date, the Mare would likely be much higher. Unfortunately, this is a list of deities you should date, so she ranks rather low. She's a siren, and that's not me being rude. If you're here for a good time and not a long time, maybe consider seeing the Mare, but for anyone else, not a chance. Moving on to number 37, we have Huckevold of Poskind, I don't know how to say that, a former royal turned Alukite who's quoted as saying that the magics of the Forge are more effective when practiced by those of noble blood, which is by definition classist. Everyone wants a sugar daddy until that sugar daddy starts ranting about how those in poverty should just work harder. We get it, Huckevold, now shut up about privatized healthcare! The Colonel is the blind hour that helped open up the Mantis to mortals, and now serves to protect the status quo of the Mantis. Similarly to the Moth, if you date the Colonel, you are never going to be his number one priority. His job will always come first with him. Plus also the scarred face, kinda a turn off. Finally, we have the Elegeist. The Elegeist is heavily associated with loss, grief, and memories, which is why he always remembers his promises and carries with him the memories of all the fallen gods from stone. Which, on the surface, sounds really nice, but when you think about it, if the ivory dove remembers when all others forget, you know he's gonna hold a grudge when you do even the slightest misdeed, and he's gonna hold that shit over your head for years. Next up, we have the mid-tiers, deities that you could date, and there are certainly reasons to, but in all honesty, you'd likely be better off picking someone higher up on the list. I call this group, I guess, number 34, the Caligyne. The Caligyne are about as mid can get. Nothing really brings Caligyne down, but they also don't have much to offer either. They're about as boring as dating a slice of toast. I do like myself a good piece of toast. Gerby is honestly a really tragic character. He was among the first to know, and he helped break open the doors of the Mantis, allowing humanity access to it. As punishment, he now guards the Stag Door, and often weeps, saying that he wishes he died instead. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to date someone who's characterized by crying and wishing he wasn't alive. Way too many red flags. The Forge of Days is one of the first gods from light, alongside the Sun and Splendor, who she loved. Unfortunately for us, the Forge of Days killed her lover, dividing them into 4 smaller gods. Or, well, I guess it sucks more for the Sun and Splendor, but they're dead, so what are they going to do about it? Lady Tryphon, the trans icon, is one of the possible enemy longs who can oppose the player in an Apostle Legacy. Like all the immortal enemies, she offers the player a way to break free from their long and ascend themselves near the end of the game. However, Tryphon phrases it a little differently. She calls the player her love, and talks about how they've won her devotion. Which sounds great until you remember that the game explicitly says that she's left a trail of broken souls through the best hotels on the continent. So there's a non-zero chance she's probably lying. Which wouldn't be the first time a woman has done this to me. The second enemy long on the list, Lars Westergren, otherwise known as the Diarist, has a less compassionate farewell than Lady Tryphon, but he's much more reliable. He honestly seems just like a really chill guy, if you don't count the murder. The Lily King is up next, who is probably one of the best options out there if you're looking for fun and nothing else. The wiki mentions that the Flower Maker's sphere is intense, self-destructive pleasure, which is certainly good for a good time, not great for a date. The Percussignants are flayed headless bears that never stop dancing. Smash. Coming in at number 27, the Raw Prophet is a mass of limbs and flesh who you can just relax with when you've had a long day at work. Here, I'll read the flavor text for you for when you speak with the Prophet to use their Phylaxian ability. The Raw Prophet will embrace me with all its arms, and kiss me with its mouth, or whatever else it might find suitable. And perhaps that will protect me from the diseases, and perhaps it will simply outnumber them. Wow. Just wow. It's said that the Red Grail drank the tide, overtaking that hour's dominion over pleasure and appetite, which is just a fancy way of saying the Red Grail knows how to party! However, she can get a bit jealous, which might be the single worst combination of traits in a lover. The maid in the mirror is Kelsey Breeze, a woman who exists inside a mirror. And like, everyone has their own living situations and all that, but I feel like if I tell people that my girlfriend lives in my mirror, people are gonna think I'm crazy. That, or that I'm a narcissist, which is true, but also hurtful. Miss Nyania is a fickle painting. That's not a joke, she is just a painting. She sometimes helps comfort people, turning your restlessness into nothing more than a fleeting reminiscence. Other times, she smiles at your dread, replicating it and making it impossible to outrun the inescapable despair that covers every inch of your soul. Which is kind of a dick move. The Malachite, otherwise known as the Ringyu, is quite literally described as being succulent in-game. Smash. Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I say, get therapy. If you like traveling and seeing the world, then the Vagabond might be the date for you. Unfortunately, she's kinda banned from the Mansis, which makes dating them a tad difficult. Additionally, she's one of the 4 bird deities that meet up to share gossip unheard by their peers, which is just a recipe for shit-talking behind your back. Coming in at number 20, we have the Menascate, who rules a secret reflection of the Mansis, unbeknownst to the other gods. A hot moonwife and a vacation home all in one package? Sign me the fuck up! King Crucible is a living fire with anger issues.
People might mistake me for some kind of a masochist.
Smash. Another enemy long. Captain Welland is arguably one of the most heartfelt yet most narcissistic goodbyes of all the enemy longs. In his letter, he mentions how he is the most dangerous foe you'll ever fight, and how if you've beaten him, you don't deserve to die to help another person ascend. Shame he's a misogynist. The Madrigad is the hour that presides over death and the passage into the afterlife. So, like the Ivory Dove, without any of the downsides of the Ivory Dove. Sucks to suck, Algeist. The Kittling Ripe is a speechless cat, who goes to great lengths to rescue members of his family, and that's just wholesome. I swear to God, if I see one fucking comment saying I'm a furry, I'm gonna— Morgan is an Alokite and a member of the Laegate Club. She's described as having a lethal reputation, laughter like birdsong, and eyes like something of a bird's, shining beads of black. I honestly can't find much to count against her, but not much to count for her either. Except for the fact that she's an Alokite. Like seriously, how many gods are going at it without protection? The Witch and Sister Witch, are 2 lovers who drowned at sea trying to escape being sacrificed to end a kingdom's drought. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, but Kai, the twins are already dating each other. Why do they rank at number 14? To that I say, you've got 2 hands, don't you?
Ooh, come on, baby.
Finally, we have the A-listers. These are the gods of gods when it comes to romance, the best of the best. If you want a Lovecraftian lover, look no further than these lovelies. This group has been affectionately named Date Me Daddy. Date Me Daddy. Number 13. Julian Cosley is a Long who opposes the current status quo of the Mansis, and if that isn't as simple of a great lover, I don't know what is. He wants the best for you, and he's not going to bow down to what the powerful few want if he doesn't truly believe in it. He's just a great guy. The Horned Axe is the last remaining god from Stone, who watches all thresholds to help defend the world from the crowned growth. A vigilant watcher who wants to protect you from all the occult dangers of the Mansis. How truly romantic. Except for the fact that he's literally an axe. How am I supposed to fuck this? Well, the Beachcomber is described as a thief, a spy, and a voyeur, which, I don't know about you, but that just sounds like a good time. Plus, it said he knows all the couples in the Mansis, so he's the kind of lover you can sit and gossip with all night long. Starting off our top 10, Amethyst Imago is willing to cut off her own wings to stay with her lover, which is some serious commitment. Plus, the illustrations in the book detailing her love with Matthias are described as being elegant, hypnotic, and occasionally erotic, which I think is really fun. Echidna, the mother of all monsters, and the most accommodating of the Liagons, is a MILF. What do you want me to say? Now, where Amethyst Imago was willing to cut off her own wings to stay with Matthias, Matthias was willing to cut off his, equipment down there to avoid committing the crime of the sky, which is just insane, but really commendable. He'd go to such great lengths for his lover to stay with them, to keep them safe from the wrath of the hours. Frau Schlussel is yet another Alakite who's been alive for at least 200 years. She has a dog, seems fond of pet names, and mentions that she gleans skins, which is probably an allusion to her eating people, but I choose to think of it as an innuendo. Also, how many gods are having unprotected sex? Jesus Christ! Speaking of Jesus Christ, next up is Jesus Christ. Yes, I'm serious. Christ Almighty is a loving, forgiving, and kind bachelor who's looking for love. He's responsible, emotionally available, can provide for you, and even has a thing for being nailed. Get it? Because he was nailed to a cause. Yeah, I'll see myself out. Finally, we have our top 5 most datable deities. So without further ado, let's do this. Number 5. Sulochana Amavasya. Easily the most well-known Alokite on this list due to her owning the Ecdysis Club. She's quoted to be constant in her friendship, which can be assumed to apply to romance as well. She's bright-eyed, energetic, fierce, and a damn good businesswoman. She has more than enough money and connections to ensure any of her lovers are well off well into their later years. Plus, she can fuck. Like, damn. Next up is the Thunderskin. He was a mortal musician in life, which certainly influenced him in godhood, as he now eternally dances. He's also taken on the role as the Mansis' guardian and protector. Additionally, he has actually loved before, which led to him being sacrificed to appease the Horned Axe, which is rough, but it shows his dedication to his lovers. He's a fun and loyal lover who will protect you at all costs. Getting the bronze is the Mother of Ants. She helped the Colonel slay sound coils by blinding him, she helped the Great Hooded Princes escape their death, and has been known to spare the lives of sacrifices made in her honor. Basically, she's really nice, loyal, and caring. Like, damn, get yourself a woman who will blind you, I guess. In second place, Etzim II Thirstly. Jesus fuck, this guy's hot. His flavor text is an occult innuendo. What more could you possibly want? He can speak Phrygian, protect you from death temporarily, is powerful as all fuck, and the only thing you could possibly hold against him is that he's a little emotional. Here, let me read you an excerpt from the game. I knew her in the wake. Her arms were fewer, her arms were warmer, but her mouth was always cold. Call me a liar, I dare you. Or come here, and I will kiss the 5th history deep into you, where no one will see it, not even you. I'm turned on right now. Are you turned on right now? Because I'm turned on right now. Finally, with the golden medal, we have Teresa. She's an author of many books, which she can and will autograph for you, which isn't a requirement, but is really fun. She's loyal, choosing not to sell out the Mansis Suppression Bureau even when they bribe her. She's shown to be responsible, choosing to separate with her mortal lover after she became a name, to avoid committing the crime of the sky. She's emotionally available, often talking about her regrets or her previous relationships freely, but she also chooses not to tell you what the crime of the sky is, in case you're unaware, so you aren't tempted to commit it. She cares enough to try and protect you even before you get to know her. Compassion and kindness is Teresa's MO. Plus, she's smoking hot. And that brings us to the end of this video. If you've never played Cultist Simulator, I'd highly recommend checking it out. It's one of my favorite games of all time. And if you like this video, please do let me know. It would mean the world to me. And if by some miracle Brian David Gilbert happens to be watching this, I know your secret. Just kidding. Or am I? I've been Clivey Black, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!